We are here at Geekin Out. We are discussing the next Darth Bane book, Rule of Two, as you can see on this hand, actually. That's the cover. I'm going to go this
Move your
way,
head.
the right way.
There you go.
You can see
There he is.
Bane and Darth Santa. Very exciting
There
stuff.
she is.
I got my Uncle Tony here, co-host. Very exciting.
Uncle Tony. No relation.
Uncle Tony. Yes, he's my uncle. As usual, follow us on all the social media. Google Play, YouTube, Facebook, all those things, Instagram, Twitter, all those happy things. We're on iTunes. We're hosted on Podbean, so please go there and download and like and all that sort of thing. Podbean. So again, this is the second part of the trilogy that we're doing. First one should be up at some point before you see this, hopefully. So we're just going to, hopefully, that makes sense.
Spoilers.
Right? Spoilers.
The other, not so much a book review, more like a book club kind of thing. I mean, we definitely review it at the end, give it like a thumbs up, thumbs down at the end, but I definitely feel like this is more of like a book club kind of thing.
Right.
So
with you being part of the book club.
Yeah, so if you send in some questions to the email or even like post them on our Facebook page or whatever, any kind of social media, we'll read them on the air, obviously, and we'll discuss them. If you have a good idea, we'll definitely bring it up. Like I said, we want this to be book club.
Right. Or any other books, again, if you guys have any any books you want us to go over. As long as it's in our wheelhouse, we'll, read them and go over them.
Definitely. We're not going to read the Twilight series.
No, we're not.
Again.
That's one of them. Yes. We did a review, but we deleted those because we didn't like them.
Nah.
It's not true. All right, to get right into it. So in the prologue, it features a Force-sensitive adolescent Derivit. He's curious how he survived, like the thought bomb on Ruusan. And he actually enters the cavern where the thought bomb was, and he finds it. And it's just like a big orb sort of floating in the air. And he decides to actually touch the thing. Then he gets exposed with all the thoughts of all the Sith Lords and Jedis and that, this thing destroyed. So he's feeling all their pain and everything and almost going crazy right off the bat.
So to put this in perspective, this is literally minutes or even maybe like a couple of minutes before the other book ends or a couple of minutes after, right? So this is pretty trippy because Daravit, he's Xana's cousin or something?
Yeah, cousin, yeah.
Right, so he was like a Jedi and a failed Jedi, so the Sith took him. That's how bad things were because this dude wasn't even really Force sensitive. So, things were bad. And he somehow didn't get caught up in he was like so weak he didn't get swept up in it.
I think he was like just on a soldier or something because he wasn't really like...
he had a lightsaber.
He wasn't like that level, but who knows the effect. But either way, he somehow, because he was so shitty as like he was saying, in the Force, the thought bomb didn't really take him out. So supposedly everyone has some, midichlorians and whatever in them, but...
Because that's canon now.
Yes. But who knows? But anyway. So when the book actually starts, you see Darth, well, don't see, but read or whatever you want to fucking say. Darth Bane and his new apprentice, Xana, are still on Ruusan after the destruction of the Brotherhood of Darkness during the 7th Battle of Ruusan. Bane began Xana's instruction by making her relive her memories of her friend, I believe Lays or something was the bouncer's name.
Oh, the little bouncer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Basically, so she can learn to pull from that anytime she needs, like, inspiration in the dark side or anything like that.
Kind of reminded me, like, of what an actor would do to help them cry.
Right.
Like think of something sad.
We're actors, so we know what we're talking about.
Right?
Let's see.
There's that little thing. The that whole thing, like him and her go into the cave too, right?
Yeah, before that they go to the camp though.
In the camp.
The Sith camp.
Does he encounter anybody there? I can't remember.
Yeah. So basically they go to the Sith encampment where Lord Khan's forces and he was leading or whatever. There's some mercenaries like looting.
Oh, I remember this part now, yeah.
And he ends up letting 2 of them escape, he kills the rest of them. I don't remember how many. I think there was 6 to 7 or something.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. So he lets 2 escape basically to spread the word that a Sith Lord has survived, just to sort of put the fear into people. Like someone so... Basically the way I look at it is someone so strong in the Force survived the thought bomb, even though he was way away from it, and he probably would have died if he was there. So it puts, the fear in people right off the bat, like, oh my god, this guy survived somehow, and every Jedi we know that was on the planet, every Sith we know besides him, died from it.
This seemed a little counterproductive to the whole being secret.
Right. And that's what Xana was questioning him too, I believe.
Right.
Like in the
so
book.
what was his excuse for that?
I think it was just basically to spread rumors of the Sith, that they still exist. But right before that, he's like, oh, we got to live in the shadows. We got to do what we need to do and all this stuff. So I see where you're coming from the
I agree
counterproductive.
with that one.
Yeah.
Unless, it was even deeper than I realized. Maybe Bane was like, look, there's always going to be rumors, so let's control the rumors.
Right.
Something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I thought it was weird.
More than once in the first book and this book, his arrogance gets the best of him. So, this could be one of those instances as well.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't give a shit. Who's going to really stop me if they find me or something?
Well, he's got a good point.
Yeah, he does.
The after that, it goes to the what's that dude's name? Johan.
Right, but first at the camp, and they go in Quartz's tent. The same guy that he crushed or whatever.
That's right. Yep.
And they find a manuscript that he had. It reveals the location of the tomb, Frida Nod.
Frida Nod, yeah.
Basically, he's a legendary Sith Lord from 3,000 years ago. And then Bane takes that manuscript without really telling Xana what it is, because he does open it up and takes a little look, and he believes. I think it says there's actually a holocron at that place, as well. So he's already planning to go there eventually. And that's when they go into the cave right after that, where the thought bomb was detonated.
Bane kind of feels it out too, no?
As far as what?
The way Xana's cousin did. Didn't Bane kind of almost get swept up in it?
Yeah, he went up to it, and I believe he touched it. What I think happened was Daravit was trying to get the fuck out of the cave system after that. Mm-hmm. And Bane and Xana came into the area where the thought bomb was. So Bane, again being arrogant, was like, I'm gonna go up to this thing and see what the fuck's going on. And he almost got overwhelmed from it.
Tried to drive him insane. That's when the ghost started popping up.
Yep.
The ghost of Khan, right?
Yep.
Lord Khan.
Khan and the Sword Master. I can't think of his name.
I can't remember his name either.
But anyway, yes.
Doesn't matter.
So basically Bane got out of that just because he was powerful enough to not be swept up from the Force or whatever it was, the thought bomb power.
Then they encountered Daravit.
And then Daravit, I think, was it Xana that was yelling? Something made him come back, towards the chamber.
I don't remember that, but I remember I thought it was just kind of one of those, hey, oh shit, and they kind of ran into each other. Look at you. Look at you.
Yeah, either way, they ran into each other, and Daravit took it that Darth Bane captured Xana, or Rain as he knew her.
Yeah.
And was, she was a hostage, so he ends up trying to fight Bane. And
that's when he pulls out his lightsaber.
Yeah, and Bane's about to fucking kill him.
And she blows up his hand with the Force.
Xana just no fucking, again, no training at this point or anything, just disintegrates his hand.
Which is another confirmation to Bane to make him think damn.
Yeah, I picked well.
I think, yeah, exactly.
But in reality, and she convinces Bane that his life isn't worth it, to actually kill him. In reality, she just had a soft spot for her cousin, I think. So she was like, let me just fuck him up a little bit, but at least he'll live today.
I do believe in that moment that she had a soft spot for him in that moment. But there's something at the end of this book that we'll get to later that makes me think maybe not.
Yeah. Well, I think she grows a lot during this book as well.
Yeah.
Or I guess, gets more merciless or something, however you want to put it. Like she's starting to
calculated.
Yeah, she's starting to believe in the dark side even more.
Plans within plans.
But the reason why I think Darth Bane sort of was willing to do this or just let him live was because that was sort of his excuse to let those two mercenaries live as well. Like, we don't kill people just to kill people. We kill them when it's needed. Like, we're not just going out as murderers, just killing anyone and everyone. And she's sort of like, well, you just taught me this, like, whenever time for an hour ago or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, that's a good point. Okay, let's get the fuck out of here. He's no threat, I think was the wording in the book.
So she's already manipulating him in a way.
Right. And he's like, okay, I made that point. It's a good lesson. You obviously are learning. So that's why they, combination of a few things. Her being, didn't want to kill her cousin at least at that point. And she threw his lessons back at him, basically, that made him live.
All right. We don't hear from that dude for a while after that.
But these books, not just this book, but a lot of the Star Wars books seem to do, they throw these characters at you a little bit at the beginning just so you know who the fuck they are later on in the book.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what was the point of this whole going back and forth if you're not going to see him literally through almost the whole book? But it makes sense later down the line.
So this is when Johan Johan finds the mercs, the two living mercs, and he hooks back up with his team that landed on the planet with him. Those the pilot and the father and his two sons that came down on that shuttle. Johan came down on a shuttle with a female pilot, a father, and two sons, and
which he sort of Jedi mind tricked to get onto the friggin' the group, whatever, because Farfalla, told
him not to.
Yeah, he's like not going.
But they end up. He ends up encountering the mercs. Then he hooks back up with that crew, and he's like, "Oh, take us back." And they take them all back. Those mercs are taken into custody, and then they try to do exactly what Bane says. And the best part is it works out perfectly for Bane because it just reinforces, like, these guys are just bullshitting.
Right.
They're not. There's no Sith Lords left. They're all dead.
There's no way. Like, wow, we missed that sort of thing.
So it works out. It works out perfectly for Bane in that regards. But after that is when Bane tells Xana to get to Onderon, right?
Yep.
This is one of my favorite parts in the book. So he tells her he's got to just meet me in Onderon in a few days, right?
Yeah, 10 days, yep.
Meanwhile, he flies there, but he's not going to the planet Onderon. He's going to the moon Duxon.
Yep.
Which is
Nad's tomb.
Right, where Freedon Nad's tomb is. And also where in my Star Wars game where Jay's character Jay Soon got kidnapped and disappeared for
what a quinkadink.
Yeah. So Bane goes there, and then he just starts searching out the tomb like it's like nothing at first, right? When he gets to that tomb?
Yeah, he goes through it. It seems he compares it to the Sith
the Valley of the Dark
Lords. On Korriban, that it just seems like it's already been ransacked. It's just like, okay, this is a fucking pointless thing.
But he does find something there, right?
He finds, I believe this is the part where he finds like a little, well, I guess a decent size because he can fit through it, but like a stone in the wall that you can pull with the Force and get it out. I think that was the part. Yeah, it definitely was the part. So he believes that people that went in there didn't notice it or something, or it was like, I think it was really hard to get out for whatever reason. Probably because it was like in there, not just from being a big ass piece of rock, but
it was more than just like
from like a Force like trap or something.
Yeah, it was more than just like pulling the piece out. It was almost a little bit of a puzzle to find that little area and whatnot. So he finds that, and did he find a holocron in there?
Yeah, that's where he finds his holocron that was in the manuscript of Cordis. And that's where he gets his Orbalisk, right?
That's when one of the Orbalisks, well, one of them drops down towards him, and he hits it with the lightsaber.
Yeah, there's basically like a whole hive of these fucking shell things that attack him.
They kind of remind me of like opalescent ladybugs, big
Right.
giant opalescent ladybugs.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good comparison.
And they drop down onto him, and he takes out his lightsaber, he bats it away like it's like it's a baseball, and it skitters across the floor. And it happens like 1 or 2 more times, and he's like, "Wait a minute, these things aren't dying."
Right.
But then like some of them actually land on him and attach to him.
Yep.
And he doesn't. At some point, he just kind of escapes as best he can.
I think he puts the stone back in place and sort of keeps them in the hive that they can't get out of somehow.
And he escapes with the holocron, but he's still infected with this parasite, this kind of like force
There was
tick.
2 of them, you said, right?
You're probably right, something like that.
Or at least 1. But either way. But what's cool about these things is they feed on the dark side.
Right.
So even though they were trapped in this fucking, compartment or whatever, just because they were strong on the dark side from the holocron and, Nad there, they're just feeding, and not only do they feed, but they multiply by themselves.
Yeah, they just like mitosis, right? Isn't
Yep.
that what it's called?
I think so, yeah.
Where they just kind of it's one, and then they just kind of pull apart, and then there's 2. And the so there's like this infinite loop that goes on with these things. So they feed on the dark side, which they draw from Bane, right? And as they're feeding on the dark side, they kind of like dig into Bane and cause him pain, which angers Bane, which calls up the dark side, which
Right.
they feed on. And
Right.
then they dig in a little more. So
So
it's
just- Constant struggle, basically.
yeah, so like they also like enhances his strength, his abilities, and once they start spreading over his body, they're basically lightsaber proof.
Right.
He can when he gets into fights.
Blaster
people-
proof, all that. happy
yeah,
stuff.
exactly. So he creates like a helmet to go over his head to protect his face and his and something else for his hands and his feet.
Hands, yeah.
And I'm assuming somewhere, he has something to protect his nether region. It just doesn't make
Yeah.
sense that, how
Unless
else
they
would
really feed on the dark side, and then it's all good. You don't have to do anything.
So, yeah, I mean, I definitely would want some obelisks, but I understand why, from his
Right.
perspective, why that would be beneficial. Makes
Well,
him stronger, he's faster.
I mean, he turns to being really good with a lightsaber for then all of a sudden not giving a shit about any other person's lightsaber.
Yeah, he doesn't
So
think
he's,
about
he's
defense
just
at
like,
all.
I'm just gonna go in there, be totally offensive. You strike me with a lightsaber, I don't give a shit. Like, who cares? I know these things can't be hurt from that.
So, from that point, that happens. They switch back to Xana,
Yep,
and Xana is found by that crew.
right.
And Johan the Jedi.
Well, it's not. Johan's not there.
Right.
Johan leaves the mercenaries to like find another ship or something. So it's just that pilot, the dad, and the 2 kids at this point.
Oh, that's right. No, you're exactly right. Johan finds another ship, and then because he's left at that point, but she's on that ship with the pilot and the dad and his 2 kids.
Yep.
And then some messed up stuff happens on there. She was trying to do something in the back, and then and one of the other kids was there, and she ends up like almost kind of accidentally killing him.
Yeah, I think what happens was they were gonna obviously go back to the Jedi ship in orbit or whatever,
Yeah.
and she's like, I don't want to go there because they're gonna sense my power and realize I'm part of the dark side and all that stuff.
Yep.
So I think she's looking for a way to sort of get out or something in the like storage containers. Let me see if I actually have the correct notes here. And like he said, one of the sons finds her and thinks she's trying to steal stuff.
Oh, and he kind of gets WTF about it.
Right.
And
He's like, I'm gonna go tell everyone or whatever.
but she kills him, and I don't remember how, but she kills him.
Right.
The dad sees it, and he runs in to like I think he was just going to try to
she
like
was
help his
stealing
son.
yeah, because she didn't have a lightsaber at this point. So he catches her stealing a blaster, like you were saying.
That's what it was, and it goes off while
And
they're struggling for it.
Yeah, they're fighting each other or whatever, and Xana
That's
kills
what it
him by shooting him with it.
That's right when the dad walks in. So he rushes to his son's side, but she thinks he's attacking, so she shoots him.
Right.
Then she goes up to the cockpit where the pilot is. The pilot gets up, and then I think she shoots the pilot too. And the only
she orders the soldier to set an autopilot, of course, to Onderon.
Oh, with the Force.
Right.
Right. Which, holy crap, she's not even trained and she's doing stuff like that already. Yeah.
Which, not to get too off topic, but this sort of pushes forward the whole Rey thing and, Force Awakens and stuff. Like, oh, how'd she know how to mind trick and all this stuff?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
And Xana wasn't trained. Like, she had a few, like, maybe lessons or something from Bane as far as, like, this is what we're doing. But not like anything official. So it's not too far-fetched to think Rey could do similar stuff if she's that strong in the Force.
Her first couple of lessons from Bane were more about philosophy than
right. Like this is how this shit's gonna be. It's
Yeah.
not like, oh, we're gonna practice your Force training or your lightsaber training or whatever.
So she makes the pilot plot the course, the whole 9 yards. Then she kills the pilot, and then the only one left is the second son, and this is the last remaining son, and this is the worst murder of all. I think, in that whole scenario, because he was just a little kid. He really couldn't do anything except talk, and she takes him out, and I was just like, eek, this is some cold ass shit.
Basically, she had no, not to be on her side or something, but she had no reason to have him there, and she couldn't have any witnesses to like what the hell happened.
Right.
Because again, her and Banner are hiding right now.
Couldn't have any witnesses to her other murders.
Yes.
Yeah. So she drags all those people into the back, and she only goes into the back to get like food and whatnot, and then it starts to stink, and she's totally freaked out about having those bodies there. But then she lands on Onderon in this big open clearing, which is going to lead to my favorite part of this whole thing.
But I think they flip back to Bane before that happens.
They do.
Yeah.
But I just want to get this out of the way. She gets on Onderon and like in the big clearing, and there's some what would you call those, like hijackers, carjackers, or something like that? Spaceship jackers.
Yeah, they basically cleared an area on the planet
for people to land.
For people to land, and then
charge a fee to land
right
there. And if they don't, they just take the ship
and kill them.
So back to Bane. So before all that shit happens, Bane, his ship got fucked up, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, well, Bane's, this is when he officially starts seeing, well, at least more, the hallucinations of Kanan and Cordis.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the Swordmaster, it was Cordis then that he was seeing hallucinations.
Yeah, Cordis.
So blah blah blah. So when he flies the ducks in, the vision of Cordis pretty much makes him get fucked up. So he lashes out with the Force and
he
sort of destroys his ship.
Yeah. So this was before all that other stuff with the obelisk, is when he landed or whatever. So Bane's going kind of crazy.
Right.
And he's seeing ghosts, and he destroys his ship to try to get rid of the ghost. So like when he left the temple of Adadu, whatever that dude's name was, when he left the temple and after he got the obelisks, he couldn't fly out because he destroyed his ship. So he uses the Force to control the mind of one of the, what are those? Do you remember what those beasts were called? Those flying Drexels. They kind of remind me of pterodactyls a little bit.
Right. Yep.
So the cool thing, or the interesting thing about Duxon is the moon of Onderon, Duxon, is that in its orbit, sometimes the atmosphere of Duxon intermingles with the atmosphere of Onderon.
Yep.
Okay? And this just happens to be one of those times of the year when that is happening. So Bane controls the mind of this Drexel, hops on it, he flies the thing to the farthest reaches of the atmosphere where the moon and the planet their atmospheres are overlapping, and he flies through that small little window.
He protects himself with like a dark side cocoon, essentially.
Right.
To protect himself from being in the fucking really high atmosphere.
Because at some point, like, even there's no air, and
Right.
you know, they're just
And
coasting.
it's, I assume, freezing like it is,
Excellent point.
you
Yeah.
know, here as well. Here
So-
on Earth, God.
So that was awesome. The way they worded that in the book, and the way they, just, laid it out for you. So then it's back to Rain, and this is the part I love. So she's like, those carjackers are like, oh, we're gonna take your ship, and yeah. That's when Bane shows up,
Yeah.
and he's flying a Drexel. They got a Drexel, but his Drexel is way bigger than theirs because he's Darth Bane.
Yeah,
And that's how
why
he
not?
rolls. Yeah. So there's this big fight in the sky, back and forth. They're shooting at him. He's using force powers on them, and sooner or later, he just takes them all out. It's just a crazy, insane battle, and they hit the ground in a big pulpy mess, and he lands, and the way they describe it in the book almost reminds me of that scene from Lord of the Rings, where Legolas kills that big giant elephant,
Yep.
and he just kind of
Goes
walks
down
off
his
his
tusk.
trunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's
his trunk, yeah.
that's how it was. That's how I felt when I was like listening to this part of the book. Like he kills them all, and he's just walking. Yeah, this is a thing I do.
Yeah.
He just took all those. It
ain't
was just
shit.
such a badass, way for him to show up for his. Like if I was his apprentice at that point, I'd be like, yeah, this is.
Yeah,
I've-
well, that's what I was just gonna bring up. Like, this is the first time Xana sees his, like, she can sense his power,
Right.
but this is the first time that she sees him like
In
go
action.
fucking crazy
Oof.
and just fucking literally murder all these people and animals and all this other stuff, and really no sweat off his back.
He shows her the obelisks, and he's like, "This is how I could withstand that fight. This is why I was that fast, or whatnot."
Right. So at this time, this was pretty awesome. Obviously, this fight and everything.
Right.
But this time, the chancellors, the Senate, I should say, are dissolving the Jedi army because they think the Sith are
Rightly
destroyed
so.
and everything.
Rightly so.
Yeah.
It's more of a problem than it's worth.
Right.
I
So
complete-
it's so basically all the Jedi are just Jedi now. There's no army of light and all that bullcrap, and the ships are not going to be used for that fight anymore. And
Right. And this initiative is being pushed forward by Chancellor Valorum, who is obviously a predecessor to the Valorum in the Phantom Menace.
right.
And this Valorum is also, well, if not the first, one of the first non-Jedi chancellors
Yep.
in a long time, or ever in a long time,
I think forever or
or at least
forever.
a long time. Yeah.
Either way,
So he's
which not to
go
cut you off, but coincidentally is sort of the start of the downfall of the Republic, which is sort of weird. Like to think about. I don't know if the Jedi would have kept it going or what, but obviously I don't think if a Jedi was in place, Palpatine wouldn't be friggin' Chancellor eventually or anything like that. But
it
it was a Jedi the whole time.
If it was
but
always Jedi, then Palpatine never would have got elected because
Right.
Palpatine,
he
his
could have been a
force
Jedi,
abilities
but,
were secret.
right.
Right. Well, he could have he could have even ended up in the Jedi Order and then become Chancellor. Oof.
But they even mentioned in the book sort of what is said in the prequels that the Jedi are just pretty much Senate fucking fighters and Senate bodyguards and all this other stuff. They're not they're for the Republic, but they're weak because they're not doing what their power essentially commands them to do or allows them to do, I should say.
Yeah, but at the same time, I do agree with Valorum on this. There's too many Jedi fingers in the pot.
Yep.
It's too much. I think they need to be more of well, they're supposed to be peacekeepers or whatever, but I think they need to be counselors more than cops. I think that's a better role for the Jedi than being generals or whatever.
Right.
Anyhoozle. So there's a meeting with this guy and Farfalla and Johan, right?
Yeah, Johan, Farfalla takes Johan under his wing as his apprentice now.
Right.
Because he was an apprentice of General Hoth at the time. And he, like you said, that they have a meeting, the Chancellor and them two, and Johann is tasked to protect the Chancellor, be on his personal guard.
And this is kind of a test for Johann, because Johann's at the age where he's takes the rite of ascension or whatever you call it to become a Jedi. The counselors agreed that being in the war has probably tested him more than what the trials would have, but they want to give him one last test. And Johann is super pissed that he's being relegated to bodyguard of the president. But he's just like, you know what? All right, I'm a Jedi now. I'm just going to do what I'm told. And or I'm a Padawan. I'll do what I'm fucking told, and I'll deal with it. And that was Farfalla's little test. Like, if he took it, it would prove that he had the right temperament to become a Jedi.
Jedi Knight, yeah.
Jedi Knight, yes, thank you. And right then and there, that's where he knighted him. Almost kind of like the way Queen Elizabeth would do, but, with a lightsaber.
And chopped off both his arms.
Exactly. His little braid, his little Padawan braid, which is what happened in the original Clone War cartoons with Yoda and Anakin Skywalker, which was the first time you ever saw like that ceremony. Which I also repeated in a Star Wars game before you started playing.
I don't know what he's talking about.
I knighted Jay. Darth Revan knighted Jay soon. Anyway, so that happens, and then he goes and protects the Chancellor, right?
Yep.
And
so now it's fast forward 10 years, and this is when Xana is obviously more of a badass after 10 years, and Bane's getting deeper and deeper into his rule of two, and sort of he's doing like the Palpatine / Plagueis thing now, it seems like. Like getting connections and
pulling strings
behind the scenes and all this other shit. And that's what reminded me of when I was reading Plagueis after I read this book. Like, okay, this is doing the same thing that he was doing way back when.
But he's got that side project that he keeps working on of trying to make a holocron.
Correct,
and he keeps failing. And one of his theories on why he keeps failing is not just that he's missing some information, but he thinks the Orbalisks are starting to drive him to the point where he can't control himself anymore, and he doesn't have the articulation with the Force to build the holocron correctly.
Right.
The delicate touch that is needed, because he's always on the verge of hulking out all the time.
And I think Xana's sort of pushing him into that realm of thinking as well. Like, she's like, oh, maybe those things are fucking with you if you can't do it.
Yeah. Which almost makes me think, like, is she thinking long term for this? Is she thinking, like, if I'm ever going to kill this guy, I got to get rid of those.
Yeah, those are definitely...
those are got to go.
Yeah, I mean, she's thinking just like a Sith apprentice would, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to learn everything I can from you, but I got to, where I can, make this easier for me.
Right.
Another thing that's a good thing to note is basically, like, she's more of a Sith sorceress than like a lightsaber duelist or something. So basically Bane tells her, like, I can teach you what I know, but I don't know much about it, so you're going to have to figure this out on your own.
Right. And then if you ever use it on me, I'll kill you.
Right.
Here's a thing I want to point out. Even though she's not the berserker fighter that Bane is, just because she's not that kind of fighter doesn't mean she's less in a fight.
No, definitely not.
It just means she's going to use, like, more power, more magical sorcery things in that fight, as opposed to just doing,
right.
Just trying to kill you with her lightsaber.
Well, he teaches her early on how to fight, because she's, not to be sexist or something, but she's weaker than most people that should be fighting as far as physically goes. So Bane teaches her how to, like, sort of shrug off hits versus trying to, like, brutally attack them.
Let the opponents wear themselves
right.
out. Like
so it's sort of like
style.
Sarusu or something that, how Obi-Wan does. Obviously, he's famous for that.
Sarusu.
So she has double-sided lightsaber, and pretty much, many times in the book it says, like, no one can break her guard, basically, if she's on point.
She's like that boxer that fought the Ultimate Fighter guy. Was that
Mayweather?
Mayweather.
Yeah, yeah.
She's like the Mayweather of the Sith.
Right.
Nobody's touching her.
So even though, like you were saying, I was saying that she is more Sith sorceress route, she's fine with the lightsaber. Like, she's not no slouch or anything like that.
Right.
She's just not going to go and, 2 swings and kill you with a lightsaber.
She's not the brutal killing machine that Bane is.
So that's, she knows where her strengths are. Bane does, so he's pushing her that way.
It seems like her style is like she comes in, they fight, then she drives you crazy with her magic, drives you a little insane, and when you're off kilter, she fucking chops you up. So she's gonna kill you with that lightsaber. She's just gonna soften you up a little first. So she was on some kind of mission. It's 10 years later. Bane is working on
the
that
world
shit.
of Sereno.
Oh, they're at the camp first, no? They're at that little camp.
Well, I think they have their own little camp.
And he was working on the holocron.
But I think while she was gone, this is where you're going. When she was on Sereno.
Oh, you want to talk about that? Okay, that happens first, actually. Yeah, you're right. So, go back to Johan. Which one happens first? The little thing with Joe? No, it's her. All right. So she's meeting her her boyfriend or whatever, who is really like some kind of separatist rebel from the Republic.
Right.
And
so it's a separatist movement before there was a separatist real movement.
1,000 years. And it's on Sereno, which is where Dooku is from.
Right.
Or will be from. And she's manipulating this dude so she can gain access.
Khaled Din is a Twi'lek.
He's a Twi'lek, super handsome dude. And apparently...
He would know.
Apparently... Well, they say it in the book.
I know, I'm just fucking with you.
He was before Xana came into the picture. He was actually messing around with a Chiss female.
That's in the same group as him.
Yeah, the same little secret rebel cell. And Xana kind of manipulates her way in. She has information about where this particular politician's going to be, and they make plans to take him out or whatever. Right? So...
Well, it's Valorum.
Yeah, it's Valorum.
Yeah.
I was going to leave that.
Well, okay, well.
But whatever.
So, I jumped the gun a little bit, sorry.
So, the boyfriend is, totally enamored with Xana because she's, super hot, but also manipulating his mind.
But I think it's a little mutual as well. She bangs him, and, obviously she wouldn't have to go that far unless,
Oh, yeah, she was into it.
Yeah.
She's not doing anything she doesn't want to.
No. So, I mean, obviously it's for the mission or whatever, but I think she's enjoying herself on the mission as well.
This is like a tasty little treat for her during the mission. This is I don't know.
This is the ice cream while she's, waiting.
Yeah, she's just having a little, it's like, I might as well take a bite. I'm here.
He is a piece, so I just gotta jump
I guess, whatever. And, he has no problem with it because obviously she's very super hot anyway, too. Yeah. And the fact that, she's got the Force manipulating his mind. And she gets her way into the cell. She convinces them to go on this mission to take out Valorum.
I think they're going to kidnap him, not kill him.
Okay. All right. So they're going to try and kidnap him.
Right.
All right. Some of the people in the cell are like, I don't know, but they end up doing it anyway because her boyfriend gives one of those speeches and rallies everybody, and it's all good. So then...
And he's probably the strongest out of the group as far as fighting and all that stuff. So people not only respect him but know that he could whoop some ass if it came down to it.
Right.
It's a double edged sword sort of thing.
And he's got this two-weapon fighting style where he has these special blades.
Yep.
Which almost kind of reminds me of Voss from the Han Solo movie.
Right. Yep.
So almost something like that kind of fighting style. And then it goes to Johan, who is now... He's now, old friends with Chancellor Valorum, who isn't Chancellor anymore.
Again, 10 years ago is when he first got this mission. So he's just sort of he's his bodyguard, but they've
His
progressed
official
as far
title
as-
is not his official title is advisor or something like
right,
that.
right.
But really, he's just.
But I
hanging out.
mean, in actual reality or whatever you want to fucking say, it seems like he was president. They're still gonna have Secret Service, so that's why he's there with his
right.
Even though they don't, I don't think he has a security group.
No, he
Which
doesn't.
is part of like the thing Johan always wants him to get. Like, yes, I'm a Jedi, but I can't stop everything in one person, sort of thing.
Right, and Valorum's excuse is like, dude, I haven't been president in like so many years. Like, nobody cares about me anymore, which isn't
Right.
true, obviously, because there's some shit about to go down. Then
Well, the whole reason Valorum is going on to this planet is he's trying to get the leaders of whatever planet, I can think of what planet they're on now, but to basically stay with the Republic and all that stuff, and I think that's the main reason. He feels that more like a physical presence is better than through a holocron or a hologram,
they're
or
on
whatever.
Sereno.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why he's showing up there, and they know that through their, however they know it. But
Which to put things in perspective, that's 1,000 years of Sereno's royalty trying to get the Republic off their planet. I mean,
Right.
this is 1,000 years before the movies, so it's Sereno has spent the last 1,000 years trying to get the Republic off their planet, so the royalty can subjugate all the poor people and
Right.
whatever. So it's nothing new. This is when by the time you get to the movies.
no, but that's why the Chancellor's there in the first place. He's not there to
Right.
whatever reason, just to put that in perspective.
So he's trying to get them under the the blanket of the Republic,
Right.
and they keep pulling back and forth or whatever, and
And it's sort of like a mutual thing. Like they want him there, the leaders and stuff like that. So they'll actually send out like a welcoming party and stuff. And that's what the group, the terrorists, whatever you want to say,
yeah.
they kill them and take their place essentially.
So they start walking across this long bridge. Well, Johan, what's his name? I kind of don't like this character, but anyway, he's with Valorum. Johan is with Valorum. They start walking across the bridge, and that's when the terrorists strike. He fights off most of them, but a couple of them just bail because they're like, oh, I'm tired of getting chopped in pieces by a Jedi.
Right.
But the last dude is the boyfriend, and he pulls out his 2 daggers and he fights. And he's actually, like you were saying, a really good fighter.
And he's actually winning against Johan
The
because
Jedi.
Johan is more focused on like
He's a
diplomatic,
counselor. Yeah.
diplomatic side of things instead of working on his lightsaber battle or fighting and all that stuff.
Exactly. He's more of like a person who he's more of a politician type Jedi than he is a fighter. So at some point during this fight, Johan realizes, crap, this guy is gonna beat me. So instead of last-ditch effort to try and kill this dude, he just he decides, well, if he's gonna kill me anyway, I'm just gonna lure him to the edge. He grabs him, and then he just falls back.
Right.
And the other dude's like trying to fight him on the way down, but it's like, dude, we're already falling, we're dying. And somehow that dude ends up breaking Johan's fall a little bit.
Well, at the same,
Right?
well, this is when there's like the clarity level or whatever you want to say with the Force. Like he's totally at peace, and somehow like the Force not only is the Zabrak's fall or his body, but the Force creates like a cocoon around him or something and protects him.
He becomes he becomes at one with the Force. He's
Right.
like completely at peace. In that moment, he's completely enlightened.
Right.
He's gone to the next
And
step.
he feels he did his duty because from doing this, he's still protecting Chancellor Valorum, and that was his
Right.
mission. He's like, oh, if I have to die, this is a good way to do it because this is what I was missioned to do and all that sort of thing.
And then he hits the bottom, and then that goes away and then it's replaced with pain.
Yes. So he does survive, but he's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, and he actually, but still, he climbs up that bridge by himself,
He does.
and Valorum helps him the rest of the way. So you got to give him. I mean, he's a super annoying dude, but you got to give him props. Like that was pretty.
Yeah, it was pretty badass.
Yeah, that was
And
pretty.
he did do his duty or whatever.
Exactly.
Do his duty.
Duty. So that's when after all that shit goes down, Xana's like, "All right, I'm out." That's when she goes back to find Bane at their little camp, right?
Right.
And the camp's fucking ruined because he was working on a holocron and he screwed up the last step, and the holocron went, turned to dust, nothing left. He's completely ruined the whole camp, and
well, it was the Orbalist that, he was pissed, but the Orbalist pushed forward his fucking anger, and he just went fucking crazy and just destroyed the whole camp.
Right, and which leads to her making that point, like, hey, dude, you can't control yourself anymore.
Right.
These things are driving you crazy, And he's like, it's cool.
But he starts thinking maybe that's true.
Yeah.
'Cause he's like, okay, this is
starts to
a few times now that I've gone a little off the rails.
Lost his shit.
So Xana ends up going back to the fuck is that planet called now? I keep on forgetting the name.
Which one?
The one where the Transform was.
Oh, Sereno.
Sereno, god damn it. And so it was Pac, right? Pac and the chick.
Yes, yes.
Pac and the chick that
the girl that used to like
bang the Zabrak, whatever.
That Xana started
They,
banging.
not force Xana, but pretty much get behind Xana with a blaster and everything, and they're gonna bring her to their master
and bring it, to the rebels' cell leader.
Right.
Which happens to be, what's this guy's name? Hurst?
Heaton.
What is it? Hetton. So this guy's kind of interesting because he is force sensitive.
Right.
And he's also rich. He's a rich nobleman. And his mommy had the money to get him to hire someone to teach him to use the force, but that guy was kind of shitty.
Yeah, he was like, I think he was a bounty hunter, right?
The guy that the mom hired? Yeah, he was a bounty hunter. And basically at some point, Hetton was like, this guy don't know shit. And he fucking killed him somehow, right? How did he kill him? Do you remember? I don't. He took him out somehow.
So basically before all this is, you figured this out, which it seemed pretty obvious from the get-go, but there's also these assassin guys around that are with robes and stuff around him, and they're just sort of sitting there, and Xana's like, what the fuck is going on? And Xana ends up killing Pac and that chick because they were going to, I believe, take her out.
Right. But she kills them.
But at this time, Heaton, whatever his fucking name is, and those guards aren't moving.
The Umbaran guards.
Yeah. And Xana's like, the fuck, they're not fighting back. Guess I'll just kill these guys, and that's it.
That's what Hetton.
That's when he reveals, like, oh, you're finally I found someone I'm looking for. Like, I'm looking to be, apprentice to a master, and then he just explained that this guy's a force-sensitive guy. He loves the dark side. He was trained like very little and all that stuff.
Exactly. So he's always wanted to be a Sith when he grows up, but when he grew up, but now he's kind of old, and he's got some powers and whatnot, but he's also got money, which allowed him to hire these Umbaran guards. Mm-hmm. And these Umbaran guards are from one of those schools, from one of those Sith schools. Yep. So these guys are all stealthy, and they're good at sneaking into places and assassinating people.
Basically being invisible until they strike.
Correct. Good.
And also he has a whole room full of Sith does he have holocrons? Sith artifacts, at least. I don't think he has holocrons, but... So he has a ton of shit that would be helpful for Xana... if she read it and all that stuff on sorcery and everything else.
But specifically, he has the hyperspace lane, basically directions to a planet called Tython.
Yep.
And on Tython, there was this Sith who she made cyborg Sith sorcery kind of like monsters. She would take like like a Rancor and put some like mechanical parts on it, and then use Sith magic to fuse it all together. And long story short, it was just cyborg gross magic stuff. Anyway, so she had some kind of fortress on Tython, and apparently she was like an expert holocron maker. And when Xana realizes this, she's like, bam, Darth Bane is going to love me if I give him this, right? So Hetton, this fucking dipshit.
But this is a double thing before they go onto the planet. So she takes him on as her apprentice or whatever, and basically says, okay, my master could kill me. Me and you will go with your 8 assassins to Ambria, and we'll kill him, and then we can start. Because she explains to him the rule too, at least a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's their plan, to go there and kill him.
Yeah, and like in the book, there's no. You don't get any you don't get inside Xana's head. Like in the book, that's exactly what you're thinking. You're like, oh shit, she's going to take him out in this book. She's going to use all these people and take out Darth Bane. Like, is this really going to happen? Like, I did the first time I read it, I definitely questioned it, but like that's the impression you're going with in the book. Like she's going to kill Bane with all these people.
Yes, but it sort of seems like it's against everything that they believe in. Mm-hmm. Like it's always like the apprentice needs to kill the master,
right?
Not get some bullshit artist with you and take him out with an army or something. It needs to be one-on-one battle, and that's how you actually get the step up or whatever to master, because you earned it, not because you're fucking get an army for.
This is an exact example of what Bane said what fucked up the Sith, weakened the Sith.
Right.
Another clue they give you, the fact that Hetton is old. He's older than Bane, maybe. He's an old dude, and he wants to become Xana's apprentice. I mean, obviously that's not going to work.
Right.
He's got to go.
So basically, they get back to Ambria, and Bane's sort of like fucking with him. I think he's meditating at the time, and he realizes that he doesn't sense any life forms around him. Not, no squirrels, no fucking anything around him. So he's like, something's fucked up. Mm-hmm. So he pushes out with the Force, and then the assassins are revealed around him because they're essentially hiding themselves and masking his Force, basically from seeing anything else. So he knows something's fucked up, and before they're about to strike with their Force pikes, that's when again he blows out with the Force, and all of a sudden they're not camouflaged anymore.
Right.
And they strike him a few times, but it doesn't fucking matter because he has the Orbulus on him.
They start coming at him. They fight, and Bane just kind of tears through them like he does everything.
Right.
He gets through them. It gets to Hetton, and Xana's there watching the whole thing.
Yeah, she's not doing anything. She's just sort of watching.
And she doesn't say anything. She doesn't interact, interfere, anything. And at one point, Hetton's like, "Master, help me!"
Yeah, because when he has his lightsaber like shaking, like trying to defend against Bane.
He doesn't have. Yeah, he's.
So there's no chance he has basically at that point.
So Bane wrecks this guy with a thought. Basically, he just tears through this guy, and he didn't figure out what Xana was doing, and he attacked Xana.
Yep.
And she's defending against him, and she's trying to explain it, but he's again. The Orbulus.
He's at the point of almost killing her at this point.
Has driven him the Orbulus have driven him to a rage. He's attacking her. He's got her to the point where he's just about to kill her, and then she tells him about that Sith Lord,
right?
Which was the only thing that stopped him. It was
right. It's like, oh, I have a way to do this. Look, I didn't attack you. I didn't do anything. I was just standing there. And then one very awesome thing that he says first, he's like, well, what if they killed me? She's like, well, then you're not worth being master if they killed you. So he's like, I taught you well, basically.
Right. Which is true.
It's true. So that was a pretty awesome part. All right.
When she explains it to him, he's actually super impressed
Right.
at like the depth of her little diabolical plan, which is an example of what I was kind of talking about earlier. Like she becomes completely diabolical in this movie. She's book. Yes, thank you.
It should be a movie though.
It's a movie in my head.
That's right.
It's a movie in my head.
Especially when you listen to the audiobook.
She becomes the puppet master in this. She's thinking 12 steps ahead, like a chess game. There's another part in this book the first time I read it, when it got to that at the end of this book, I was completely like, holy crap, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but this book is actually like a lot. Well, it's perfect. The title is Perfect Rule of Two.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see that multiple times in this book, what it means.
Yeah.
But the first book was just the starter. It was like the summary of how things became. But now this book, which usually in the trilogy fashion, usually the second movie book usually is better because the story's already explained. Now then getting the meat and potatoes of the fucking situation. So that's how I feel about this book. So at this time, Bane obviously wants to go get that holocron on Titan, and he sends Xana to enter the Jedi Temple and find a way to get rid of these orbalists because he's convinced that these things are really fucking with him now. So she's going there on a mission to find a way to get rid of the parasites, and she's acting as an apprentice to
some other Jedi.
Some other Jedi. I guess it's not important.
So she's posing as an apprentice of some like Jedi who hasn't been to the Order in like a decade or something crazy like that. So there's two missions going on simultaneously. She's going to the Jedi Order to find out about the Orbalists to try to get rid of them because obviously shit's turning around on Bane, and at the same time Bane is going to Titan to try and find the holocron of that Sith Lord woman who is going to show him the right way to make a holocron. So she's farting around in the library. She's trying to whatever information that she finds about the Orbalisks nothing really gets to the point. She never really finds anything that was really like, oh my god, Eureka, I've got it, let's go. So while all this shit's happening, Johan comes back into the picture, right?
Right.
So he wants a, what is it, like a monument or something?
So basically for Chancellor Valorum's thankfulness or whatever, gift for Johan saving his life, he starts, a Senate pledge or whatever to get a memorial to the Jedi forces who died on Ruusan.
All right. So, okay, yeah, all right. And Johan actually goes to the planet just to oversee it, because now Jedi are site coordinators.
Right. Which is the only thing he's good for. But to get back to the Derevit thing, Derevit's still on Ruusan.
Right.
He's built his like healer sort of level, like hermit, I guess. And he doesn't he's like, this shit happened 10 to 15 years ago. Why are they doing this now? So
and he's got no love for the Jedi either.
Right. He doesn't like the Jedi. He doesn't like the Sith. He's seen what they did to this planet.
Right.
Which the planet still hasn't really recovered from. So he's like pretty much fucking with all their machinery and anything that they're trying to do.
When they leave for the night to go home to sleep.
Right.
Yeah.
So finally, Johan decides to stay overnight and look for people or person that are fucking with the
try to catch
thing.
him.
And he finds Derevit fucking with it and chases him down to his camp. Even though Derevit knows the land better and all that stuff, just because Johan has the Force, he catches up to him and finds him.
So Derevit kind of like surrenders, like, oh, you got me, whatever.
He's like, oh, if anyone can follow me, then it's... And Derevit says the same story of there's still a Sith Lord.
Right.
So Johan wants to bring him back, talk to Farfalla again.
Johan's like, dude, I fucking told you.
Yeah. He's like, I always knew, but there was no proof besides his two unreliable mercenaries like literally 10 years ago.
And Farfalla's a little skeptical. He's
right.
like, I don't know about this. So they go. So Farfalla, Johan go look for Derevit. In the meantime, Derevit just happens to be in the Jedi library, right?
No, well, Johan brings David back to Coruscant.
Right.
And he's in the library for, I don't remember for what, but him and Xana run into each other.
They start chatting.
And they're like, why the fuck are you here? Why are you here? Sort of thing. And then
she kind of almost kidnaps him a little, right?
Right. And she figures out through the conversation that he's a healer, and she finally makes a breakthrough with how to get the Orbilis off through this, elaborate ritual or whatever.
Yep.
And she's like, okay, I got a fucking healer right here. I know where Bane's going. We're going to fucking Titan.
Except she leaves her memory stick in the computer.
Right. So she's like hurrying up to get the fuck out of there.
In the rush to get out.
And Johan and Farfalla are looking for Derevit to get the story and all that stuff in the library, and they figure out where he's going.
The librarian brings him to that workstation. They check out what was on the memory stick, and they figure out they're going to Titan.
Right. Because I think Derevit explained to Johan, or Johan, whatever his fucking name is, that... Oh, no, he didn't. I was thinking the Orbilis thing, but...
No, they didn't talk about that.
No, they didn't talk about that. Okay.
So Xana has Derevit.
They're going to Titan.
She's kind of get the impression that she wants to keep him alive, but
it seems more to give Darth Bane something else, another gift almost.
Right.
Because they need someone that can do the ritual, do the healing, and all that stuff. Because multiple times in the last book, this book, and the next book, Bane and other people, I think it's mostly Bane, that basically says the dark side isn't a healing sort of...
Yes.
They don't have any healing powers like the light side does. So they need an outside force or person or whatever to do these sort of things and heal them and all that stuff.
It's not about healing. So she's got Derevit, and they're heading to Titan to warn Bane, because Derevit kind of blew the whistle on Bane and her, right? To Johan. So they're trying to find Bane to warn him. Well, she is, and plus she has the healer. So she's got a couple of reasons to go find him. Meanwhile, Bane has arrived on Titan, right?
But before that, Derevit actually told Johan that his cousin Rain, now Xana, took his hand and seemed like his Darth Bane's apprentice.
Right, that was part of him blowing the whistle on Bane.
So he's like, I got proof right here, without his hand, that they're still alive, or at least they were 10 years ago. He doesn't know if they are now, but.
So at this point, Johan, Farfalla, they're like, well, if there really is a Sith Lord, let's go get some backup. I'll go get some friends from the war. They all hop in a shuttle.
Right. But then they were like, we know where he is now. We don't know where he's going to be next. So we don't have time to, consult the council and all this bullshit.
Let's go get him.
Let's go get him now with a few of our, friends from the war, like he was saying.
So it's this female sword master, her apprentice who fights with a double-bladed lightsaber, Farfalla, Johan, an Ithorian battle meditation
that's his
Jedi.
whole deal.
Am I missing anybody? There's 5 of them?
Yeah, there was the sword master, his apprentice,
the big dude with the double
big dude, Johan, Farfalla, and the
Ithorian.
Yep.
So 5. So 5 Jedi are going to take out Darth Bane right now. I mean, so basically 4 fighters and 1 battle meditation guy.
Stat booster.
Who?
Stat booster.
Stat booster.
A noble.
That's an excellent way to put it.
A noble.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Bane gets to the planet, and there's planetary defenses that he has to deal with and stuff with his ship.
Yeah, they're just some bullshit old things that he does the same move twice and blows up the turrets without really much effort.
Because it's all automated, and it's been hundreds of years or something since she's been around. He gets there. He has to deal with some of those magic cyborgs monsters. He takes
a lot of them.
A lot of them.
Yeah, because I think it's pretty quiet until he gets in the room with the holocron, because all these things are created by the dark side, so they pretty much go around the holocron where the dark side's the biggest or whatever.
Right.
So when he enters the holocron room, there's just, I don't know, remember the exact numbers, but there's tons of these cybernetic fucking creatures. So he has to basically go through all of them before he can even think about grabbing the holocron.
So he's swarmed by all these creatures, but at the same time, he has the obelisks. He's faster. He's stronger. He's basically nigh invulnerable. He just plows through these fuckers too, right?
Right. But it does take a lot out of him as far as
yeah,
exhaust him, I guess.
So he finally gets through them, and he does finally get the holocron, right? At that point, Xana and Daravit show up, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Right.
She explains the whole situation. That's when Farfalla and the rest of the crew show up.
Right.
And a ginormous, what are there, 5, 6, 7. So 2 against 5. Daravit's hiding off with the holocron.
Xana throws him and the holocron in a closet, essentially.
Yeah, wait here.
Yeah.
The grown-ups are talking.
So Xana's fighting Johan and the apprentice swordmaster.
Yeah.
And because they explained in the book, because Johan sucks at lightsaber battle, he's sort of getting in the way of the swordmaster's apprentice.
Yeah.
And she feels that the swordmaster's apprentice could probably kick her ass eventually.
If Johan wasn't getting in his way.
Right.
So it's like the apprentice, well, he's not really an apprentice. He's a Jedi Knight, but he was that swordmaster's
Right, so
apprentice.
he's no slouch at all.
So he's getting in like 3, 4 shots, and Johan goes, "Me too."
Yeah. And he has a double lightsaber as well, just to set the scene.
Yeah, not Johan.
No, not Johan, the apprentice.
The apprentice. He has
whatever.
like a...
But he's like they explained like a hulking friggin' human. Was he human?
Yeah, he was a big dude.
So
human.
he was like, I think they compared him to like Bane size. Like Bane's supposed to be huge too.
Right.
So he's just like fucking beating the shit out of Xana and about to like take her over a little bit. But then Johan, like he said, "Oh, look at me!" And then like that stops their attack.
If we get a chance later when you edit it, throw up a picture. If you
We'll
get,
do.
Yeah. That was such an awesome fight. The way Drew Karpyshyn kind of laid it all out, how he went back and forth between the combatants, how the different combatants were fighting, and how that affected how the other, like, if one person did this thing, it affected how that person responded, and so on. Bane held his own against the Swordmaster and Farfalla, but a lot of that was because they couldn't.
Yeah, basically what happened was Bane knew he had the Orbilis, so he's like, I don't give a fuck what's going on. I'm just going to jump right into this fight.
Plow
The
right through everything.
Swordmaster literally caught him a few times in the chest and the stomach.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this shit's over. And then she's like, what the fuck? She's still going, like, raging and shit. But Johan is a master. I mean, not Johan. Farfalla is a master. So he's working better with the Swordmaster, not really getting in her way.
Correct. Yeah.
So, like, they're hitting him, and like,
Plus,
Bane's just like...
he's a seasoned fighter from the war.
Right. So he's not
Johan was just a kid.
pushover.
Definitely not.
So Bane's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I can't beat these guys some reason. But then he sees the Thorian and like over there like doing the meditative friggin' battle meditation or whatever.
He realizes the Thorian, he's kind of controlling the fight. Like basically the Jedi aren't getting tired. They're not losing morale because the battle meditation guy is just like keeps pushing them. You're not tired. You feel great. Things are great. Let's go kill this guy, right?
And like the RPG thing we were saying earlier, it gives them +2 or something.
Yeah,
to
like
attack.
if you were playing some kind of guy, some kind of game, all the other characters would be getting +1, +2 to hit and defenses and stuff like that. So just to take it out of context, I don't know, but anyway,
or in context if you watch the games.
So Bane is like, okay, I'm just gonna start edging closer to the Thorian. I'm gonna take him out.
Yeah, because he's basically totally focused on the battle meditation, so he has no defenses up or anything. So as long as Bane can get over there, and he can probably kill him in one shot, so he thinks.
It makes me wonder, like, what is and what isn't going through the Thorian's mind, because his battle meditation is boosting the stats of the Jedi, but at the same time, he's not really. He doesn't really have any control. He's like he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't have a picture of anything that's going on.
Right.
It's just like him inside his head, just pushing out positive energy.
Well, the way back to RPG terms, he's using his standard to do that, so he can't do anything else in this round, sort of thing. So he's just like totally focused on that. He can't think of, okay, I need to use X amount of power to put a force field around me, or even get my lightsaber up if he comes. Like he's totally focused on that, and that's what he thinks is going to help them in
Which is true.
defeating which it is helping, and it's
Definitely.
It's
not foolproof. It's not
And
infallible.
at this point, though, the sword master, which I can't think of her name, and Farfalla do realize these fucking things are protecting him from the lightsabers. So they're starting to aim at his, where he's not protected. So they're definitely, it seems like eventually going to get through.
Yeah. So this fight,
I
think you're on the next page.
Yes, sir.
So
Almost.
the fight just goes back and forth until Bane gets to the Ithorian.
I think he moves him with the Force, right? To like fuck up with his.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if he like hit him with a lightsaber, but you're right. He like blasted him with the Force, which broke his concentration.
Right.
And that's when the tide started turning.
That's when he killed the sword master and Farfalla.
He killed them both right then and there.
Eventually, I'm not sure if it was like that quick, but he started sensing that they were getting weaker and tired and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's when they started getting tired.
Because you figure, like, Bane was constantly training. These Jedi weren't constantly training anymore because there was no reason to. Like, they thought the Sith were dead. Like, they're going to be focused on other things than, just worrying about the Force and fighting and all that stuff.
Which was a mistake.
Yeah.
But all of them end up getting mowed down by the end, even the big.
Well, I think eventually, like, the sword master or Farfalla asked for help, and Johan went over there of all people to try to help him. But Xana was sort of worried at this point because she's like, oh shit, my crutch was Johan sucking so much that the sword master might actually kill me.
Johan was actually helping her.
Right.
But so it's the two double-bladed lightsaber combatants going at it at that point. But what she has that dude doesn't have is Sith sorcery, and she fucking drives him crazy.
Yep.
And that's when she takes him out. He's thinking he's seeing monsters everywhere that aren't there, and then I forgot exactly how she did it, but once he started going crazy, it was easy for her to take him out.
Yeah, and eventually Bane kills the other three.
Yep. Now this part is really cool. So
Actually, yeah, I know where you're going, but I don't think he kills one of them or something. Cause
one of them is alive.
He's going to shoot lightning at the last one or last two or something.
So Bane's standing right over the battle meditation Jedi Ithorian.
Yeah.
He's about to shoot that lightning, and the Ithorian grabs him and puts like a force field around Bane. So all his lightning shoots into the force field and reflects right back at him.
Yeah.
Which electrocutes him, electrocutes the obelisks, which totally fucks up the obelisks. Now, one of the things about the obelisk is if you try to remove it, it releases a toxin to kill you.
Right.
So it's like it's
They're impenetrable, but if they die for some reason, you're fucked, basically.
right. So the obelisks that have been on him are the same ones that have been on him for like a decade.
And again, getting back to what we were saying earlier, they've multiplied by now, so they cover all his body besides where he has
right.
the rings or whatever to stop him from growing.
So he electrocutes himself, damages himself, electrocutes the obelisks, damages the obelisks.
That kills them all.
Right, kills them, but they also release that toxin.
Right.
So he's dying. Xana takes out everybody else at this point because he's fucking a wreck. She snatches up Bane, she snatches up Daravit, and they go try to find Khalib.
On Ambria.
On Ambria.
No.
I think it is Ambria. I think you're right. I think it's Ambria.
Yeah.
So Khalib ain't having it. Khalib's like, nope.
Yeah, just to get the, going back to the last book.
Oh.
The only reason Khalib helped because his daughter was there and Bane was going to kill his daughter.
Right.
At this point, Khalib felt like he was going to come back at some point, so he sent his daughter away too.
Right.
So, there would be nothing that could, make Khalib help him again, basically.
Can't what do you call it? Blackmail him.
Right.
Can't blackmail him. So now she's got no leverage. She can't use the Khalib's daughter as an asset for blackmail.
He doesn't care about dying, so he's like, cut me in half, I don't give a shit. Your master's still going to die.
And he's totally fine with that. So a deal, Darvit works out a deal with with Khalib. And basically it's if they call the Jedi and report that a Sith Lord is here, that he'll agree to heal Darth Bane.
Right.
Correct?
Yep.
So Xana agrees to it. She's super pissed off at first, but she finally agrees to it. So the call is made. They call the Jedi. The Jedi are on their way. Khalib heals Bane. He removes the obelisks. Now Bane at this point
Still hurting.
Is a total wreck.
Yeah.
He's barely alive. He's mostly dead. And Xana tells him the story, and he's like, "Are you out of your fucking mind?
Yeah.
Just kill me now and
Just
escape,
kill me.
you fucking idiot."
Instead of like becoming a prisoner of the Jedi,
Right.
he wants her to kill him and just take off and keep on going with the Sith legacy or whatever.
Keep on, do the best you can. But Xana's like, "Nope, I ain't having it."
Basically saying that, not to cut you off, but
Go ahead.
basically just say, I need to learn more things from you.
Yeah, true.
So I'm not letting you die. I'm bringing you with me.
You can't die on me yet, old man. I
Right.
still need you. So this leads to one of the best endings I've ever read in a fucking book, because I
Right.
did not know this was kind. So
Yeah, basically just the mindset I had. I was like, what the fuck are they going to do? Like...
you're
at
sitting
this
there like,
point-
is she fucking? You're totally with Bane, right?
And at this point, oh no, they don't see it then. But at this point, they bring in an army of Jedi and special forces to take out this Sith Lord.
Yeah, when the Jedi find out, they are literally what you just said.
Right.
They're rolling.
So it's
fucking
not
20 deep.
5 random friggin' dudes from the street. It's like a ridiculous master, all his friggin' boys, and
A lot of these dudes are veterans from that war.
right. So they come in. They're rolling up deep, basically.
They show up, and I love this part. They show up.
It is awesome.
They show up, and does he just come running out?
Basically, what they see, they're like trying to sense, and they don't sense really much.
They're trying to get
But
their
they
bearing.
see Khalib basically cutting fucking like 8 pieces outside, and then Darvit comes running out with a lightsaber. He's like, ah! And like the master, I forgot who his name was.
One of those vets is just like, what the?
Yeah, chops him down quickly.
Like, oh shit! I mean, it like just out of reflex, he just
Right.
takes him down. Like, oh, that guy, he was coming right at me.
So inside the Khalib's tent or hut or whatever it is, they find the 5 lightsabers
Right.
of the Jedi.
Which they are deducing that, oh, this Sith Lord that we just cut down probably killed Khalib, collected these lightsabers as trophies, and the
Right.
fight had fucked him up so much that he had lost his mind, and that's why he tried to attack an army of fucking Jedi. Meanwhile,
And they find the ship that Xana and all them came on as well.
right, which is how they made the call.
So they think, okay, the ship's still here. This guy's a Sith Lord. All the dots are connected. This has to be the guy, sort of thing.
So it's all cut and dry to them. They're like, we found the Sith Lord, which Darvit is not the Sith Lord. That's who they think he is. Case closed. We found him. Let's go home. This is gonna be
Right.
great. All right. Meanwhile, Xana is underneath the floor with Bane, all like huddled up, being sneaky. And she basically created some kind of like force illusion to hide them or something.
Right, because going back to when she was in the library, she was hiding herself from the dark side, at least from the Jedi and stuff like that, so she wouldn't be, we wouldn't find her basically.
So when I read this, which was around the time the Episode 1, 2, and 3 came out, it made me think, well, if she can do this, then obviously Palpatine being at the height of his power,
Right.
It definitely made me think, oh, maybe that was possible that he tricked all those fucking Jedi. So, but anyway, back to this book. At this point, once Bane realized what she did, he was like, holy shit, he was super
Not only
impressed.
that, but she used her Sith sorcery to fuck with Daravit to
Right.
essentially make him see his worst nightmares. So he comes out, thinks the Jedi are
That's the
some beast
reason.
or whatever, and he's just like swinging like, oh shit, I'm gonna kill him.
Right.
And so he was in obviously a right state of mind. So it was like a combination of all these things that she planned and did for Bane and for the Sith. And
So he was her suicide bomber.
right.
She drove him crazy, like you said, and sent him out there, which was perfect. Everything went perfectly for her.
Yeah.
She was just like, look, I see all the options you've given me. I'm gonna Kobayashi Maru this shit, and I'm gonna do something completely different. This no-win situation, there's an answer to it, and I have it. And she totally did. She was the fucking MVP of this book, hands
Right.
down.
Yeah.
Hands down.
And what this does too, those two mercenaries and Daravit, which are all dead now. Actually, I think the mercenaries are still alive, but they're like, oh, Sith Lord friggin' survived. Well, now he's dead. So now them being behind the scenes even more is just like
This just
everything's tied up, and now they can just do what they need to do behind the scenes.
This just is the foundation for the next 1,000 years of the Sith Order. The foundation is there. They're putting in plumbing.
Right.
It's
The walls are going up soon.
walls are going up. Yeah, this is badass.
But what I really liked about this book too was Darth Bane was a badass, definitely throughout the book and in the first book. But this makes Xana like up to his level at least, or close to.
Like
And she like pushed forward and really was into the rule of two and everything, and so she has just as much foundation building level as Darth Bane, in my opinion, with like the Sith and stuff like that. For what she did,
she's proven herself,
right.
hands down.
Which is good because
She's got it.
always, if you think back, everyone's like, oh, Darth Bane, he came up with the rule of two, but Xana was a big part of that as well, like a huge part, and he would have died multiple times if it wasn't for her, basically.
Yes. So I think that wraps everything up. No. So on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the best, how many dark side points do you give?
So what
this?
I give 9.25 last time, I think.
Yep.
I think this one was actually better, to be honest. And I would say 9.5, 9.75, like that high. And I like this book. Like this was, the first book was like a lot of slow at sometimes, still really good. This book, I was just like page turning. Like, holy shit, this is awesome. And you really saw Bane's power. You saw Xana coming into her own. Mm-hmm. You saw her Sith sorcery be fucking ridiculous in it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Which you don't really, like in the movies and stuff, you don't really see Sith sorcery very often, if at all.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah,
so
I agree
it's
with
like
you.
to flesh that out, at least as much as they can in the book, it was cool to like sort of experience that.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was all awesome. I think for me, I think the last book was like a 8 or a 9 or something like that. Or
I think you said 9.
9. I know we're going on a scale from 1 to 10, but I'm gonna go with 11 on this. This is
I can see that.
This is one of my favorite, if not the favorite, Star Wars books. As far as Star Wars books, this is definitely like at least top 3.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even go top 5. It's got to be in the, I'd have to really think about it to find another book, a Star Wars book that I like more than this one. It was great. I loved it. Like I said, Darth Xana, MVP of this book.
MVP.
Holy crap! This
Getting
was
a trophy.
the writer of this book did an excellent job of going like, hey, look at this, look at this, I look at this, say it's that, and then he fucking hits you in the side of the face with a big fish.
The transition from book 1 to book 2 were just like perfect. Like
Yeah.
you didn't miss anything, and they even in this book they did the time speed up or whatever of 10 years. So it was good.
And you got to see Karpashin without the old information about what happened. Like he wasn't tied down by any Star Wars history.
Right.
This is all him. This is what happens when you unleash Karpashin and just let him do whatever he fuck he wants. He didn't have any of that old like Star Wars canon that he had to like consider all the time. This was all him, and he knocked it out of the fucking park.
Yeah, this book was excellent.
Excellent. 11.
11.
It was great.
Indeed.
I definitely would recommend anybody who's into Star Wars to pick up these books. They're legends now, so they don't technically count, but at the same like the books don't technically count, but at the same time, Darth Bane is canon. He's canonized. He is a part of the whatchamacallit. And now that I'm reading these books more and more, now that I'm reading the books, more and more I feel like, oh my God, they need to make like an HBO series of this. You're like, give me 3 years. Book 1, book 2, book 3.
Right.
Please.
Yeah, they follow the events pretty closely. Obviously, they're going to have to make it a little bit different because usually book to movie or book to show is a little bit different. But if they get close, it'd be fucking excellent.
Wouldn't it be badass if that's what the Game of Thrones guys are doing?
It would be. Because that's what they do best. They use the fucking books perfectly, and then the last couple seasons of Game of Thrones probably haven't been as good, to be honest.
There have been some high points, like the Battle of the Bastards and shit. But yeah, you could tell, like, there's not as much meat and potatoes from George Martin. They're fucking kind of winging it now.
So I think if
it's basically fan fiction now.
They had a good like foundation we go back to build off of, that'd be fucking awesome.
Didn't they? Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they say they were going Old Republic?
I'm not sure if it's official yet. I think the only thing that's actually been discussed is the live action, and I don't think they officially said for the new trilogy yet.
What's his name? Favreau's. He's already started filming and whatnot.
Yeah,
they released
the
some
Mandalorian.
Pictures. Yeah, the Mandalorian.
So
I can't wait for that.
Awesome.
They totally stole his outfit from that video game 1313. Mm-hmm. As soon as I saw him, I was just like, I've seen that motherfucker before. But oh my God, what if we're right?
That'd be fucking amazing.
If they're actually going to do a Darth Bane series and get rid of the Army of Light.
Brotherhood of Darkness. Make it something cool.
Call them anything else.
Yes, anything like
anything.
Right. Brotherhood of Darkness.
I don't know. That's all I got to say about this.
Yeah.
Awesomeness across the board.
So we'll be reviewing / talking about the next book.
Hopefully within a week or so.
Yeah. So
I can't wait.
Keep it going. Any questions about the last book, this book, whatever? Again, any other books that you guys want us to go over, let us know.
Send an email, Facebook, whatever.
Twitter, fucking Instagram.
Give them all that stuff.
Yes.
Lay it on them.
So basically, again, if you look up any of these fucking sites that are at the bottom of our screen here, or if you're just listening to this, we're on Google Play, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on fucking iTunes, Twitter, Instagram, Podbean. And you can email us as geekinoutnetwork@outlook.com. Our website is geekinoutpodcast.com. You can go there. There's a contact us page. So any of those ways, comments, fucking direct messages, instant messages, whatever you want to fucking call, you can contact us with shit you want us to talk about.
And it'll be one of us. Like if you go on Facebook or whatever and write something, if you get a response, it'll be one of us,
right.
or it'll be Bear, or the Sleaze.
Believe it or not, we don't have many people behind the camera that do work for us.
Literally nobody.
Shut up. So with that, hope you enjoyed this. Keep on listening. Subscribe, like, comment, etc.
Geeking out.
Geekin'. Oh!
All right.